Hey, Dad, what are you doing?
Megan, what are you doing up on that? What are you doing? You're up on the chair?
I'm trying to show what you're doing.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I got this email from a lady the other day, and in her email, she's like, hydrangeas confuse the mud out of me when it comes to pruning, right? I just don't know when to prune, which hydrangeas when. And you know what? That's a common problem because hydrangeas are such a large group of plants that there's some that you prune after they flower, and there's some that you prune before they flower. And so I'm getting ready to prune this hydrangea. Now I know it's not much to see. In fact, folks, that's why we have Megan up on a chair so we can try to get to see what this deciduous hydrangea looks like. This is Hydrangea arborescens Annabelle. That's the Annabelle hydrangea. It's a native hydrangea to this region. And Megan, I've been growing this plant right here in the patio for years. I mean, I'm sure you remember it.
I do.
Yeah. Well,
it's one of my favorites.
It is. And the only thing is it flowers on new wood, on new growth. All right. And so if it flowers on new growth, all right, the first thing this does in the springtime is it pushes out leaves. It pushes out stems and leaves, right? Then it forms buds and it produces flowers. So the best time to prune smooth hydrangea, Hydrangea arborescens, okay, is in the early spring, end of February, beginning of March. And so that's what I'm going to do. I've been waiting to do the video so I could show people how to go about pruning this, because it's not that difficult to prune. Okay, so why don't you jump down off that chair?
Without
You don't
falling?
have to jump, just step down off the chair, and then I'll talk about this.
Okay.
First of all, I left the flower heads on. You don't have to, but I leave them on because it's a nice winter interest. Okay, beautiful white flowers. I'll show a photo of it in the video. Beautiful white flowers, great for partially shady locations to full shade. This is underneath a hemlock and a Japanese maple. But when it comes time to prune, I like to prune the branches back to just about 6 inches off the ground. So I got my handy pruners in my back pocket.
Are they the right ones?
They are the right ones. Notice that I don't have anything for pruning roots with these. This is for above ground. And here's the basic principle. I am going to prune, and if you come on in here, maybe we can try to show it with the camera. I am always going to try to prune above where you see a bud. Right here. There's a stem, there's a bud, another portion of the stem, a bud. I'm always going to choose to prune above a bud. And if I'm a little bit nervous about going down close to the ground, I'll start here that's about 18 inches tall. Just cut it off like that. Sometimes these older ones, I'll cut all the way back to the ground, all right? And now it's just fun. I'll find a bud, prune above the bud, prune above the bud, and there I go, right? And so I'm going to continue to do this, picking spots. Some people like to prune about 1 foot off the ground. Others will go taller, all right? Remember, by all this pruning that we're doing, you're going to stimulate growth from those buds where you pruned. Ooh, I'm going to prune this one way back here like this. Megan, are you a person that is afraid of pruning?
Yes.
A lot of people are afraid of pruning.
Yes, actually, and then I get a little carried away.
Oh, so, okay, so you're timid and then you're too robust.
Then I'm psychotic.
Well, you know, that's the way it goes. I'm the kind of gardener where you can't prune enough. That's the way I. I'm
always afraid I'm going to do too much, and then I'm going to.
I know.
Especially with my hydrangeas, because it just feels like you're really.
Yeah. Now, folks at home, don't be distracted by that plane that just flew by. Okay, I only have one Hydrangea arborescens Annabelle. And so Megan and I are videoing this, and we have an opportunity to do one take. Otherwise, we would have stopped here in the plane because of the noise distraction, but we don't have another one we can prune. So
This is it.
Yep, so just pretend that plane never came. Pretend that plane never came. I've learned too much about good video production for my own good. All right, so here we go. So, and then you notice, it's not taking me very long.
No, it's not.
Right? Just a few minutes, right? And in fact, I know some people take a hedge trimmer and just go nee, 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 just like that. That's called non-selective pruning. I always like to prune above a bud because I know from
above a bud,
just above the bud, because I know from pruning above a bud, that'll stimulate growth right at that spot where I pruned.
I have 4 hydrangeas I'm going to now confidently be able to do this weekend.
Make sure that they're the smooth Hydrangea arborescens, or paniculata. Those are the two, okay? Limelight Hydrangea, Annabelle Hydrangea, those are the ones that flower on new wood, and you prune them now.
Okay.
Now, the other hydrangeas, all right, the macrophylla, the mop heads, okay, they flower on old wood. Don't prune them in the early spring. You've got to prune those after they finish flowering, late spring to early summer, okay? Because this plant, what does it do? First thing in the spring, it flushes, produces buds, and then flowers. Where the other hydrangea, the oak leaf hydrangea and the macrophylla, the mop head types, they flower first, then they flush, and then they produce buds. And the buds they produce for next year. So no pruning those kinds of hydrangeas in the early spring.
Okay, well, I think mine are like this, but maybe you can come over this weekend and tell me.
You know what?
For sure.
Don't prune them until I see them, okay? And I'll tell you what they are. So anyway, folks, consider going ahead and pruning those. Better yet, consider buying Annabelle hydrangea. There are lots of cultivars besides Annabelle. There's Mini Mauvette, there's Invincible Ruby, Invincible Spirit, some pink flowering varieties, lots of selections that you can choose from. And if you want a little bit more information about hydrangeas, I've got another YouTube video that I did a few years ago on all the different types of hydrangeas and how to prune them. So check that out too. And once again, y'all, subscribe, share. I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, comments, questions, all that. We look forward to seeing you again in another video.